So I went to Afropunk this year and we need to talk about it.
Wake up, thanking God for these brand new mercies.
For those of you who have not had the privilege to attend, Afropunk is a music festival that is held every year. There are shows in Brooklyn, Atlanta, Paris, and Johannesburg. And it is just a really amazing experience because it's kind of a for us by us situation. A lot of the tones and the message or the themes for the year are very progressive and social justice, activism focused. The whole Afropunk brand is kind of revolves around that idea. So it is a very magical and very safe space for Black and brown people, queer people, non-binary, whoever you could think of. It is a space of acceptance and a space of empowerment for marginalized and minority people. The creativity is boundless. Oh my God, it's like stepping into your favorite Afrofuturism painting or something like. It's amazing. It's honestly and truly, like, if you've never been, I absolutely recommend you go. However, there have been some changes that I've noticed even from 2018 to 2019, and that's what we need to talk about today, because I did my research and I've noticed that the rabbit hole goes even further than we could ever imagine, that I could have ever imagined. Afropunk is something that's been in the works since 2003, so there is a lot of history that provides great context for even what happened in the last 1 year that I've seen. So we're going to talk about it all today. All right, stay tuned because we want to get into it. Afropunk was created by James Spooner. I believe that was his name. Yes, James Spooner. And it was actually a documentary in 2003. This documentary was actually made to highlight a group of people who were essentially invisible in the media. Alternative and rock and punk and grunge music and culture, when you would Google that back in 2003, you would probably only see white people. And this was James Spooner's problem. He knew that there was a population of Black and brown people who were into that type of stuff and were not being represented. So that documentary was kind of just a look into that life. And I believe he premiered it at the Miami Film Festival in 2003 or 2005, but either way, by 2005, Afropunk had become an event because James Spooner, he felt the need to create a safe space. So 2005 introduced the first Afropunk festival in Brooklyn in Barry Commodore Park. This is the same park that they're still doing it in. It's been 14 years and it has not moved, and I appreciate that personally because that park is centered in the hood. Ultimately, that community is being benefited by crowd and the population, the audience that it brings. Now, something that surprised me to learn was that Afropunk was originally a film festival and music festival. It wasn't always just music. So it was kind of like a whole different vibe than what's happening now. 2005 to about 2009 or 2008, that is how it operated. And then in 2009 is when a very big change happened. It went from being a film and music festival to being solely music. And according to many media outlets and journalists and blogs that I read, 2009 marked the year where corporate sponsorship kind of pushed its way into the festival. So that's when you started seeing Coors Lights and Red Bull. It became only music and no more films. This is also a year that a reggae rock band was featured, I believe. One of the lyrics to one of their songs essentially was homophobic. A lot of people put their foot down and they said, this is supposed to be a safe space, and what's happening here, where are the films? And it's kind of like they felt betrayed. They felt like the population, they were kind of changing the desired population and audience. And it was even in this year that James Spooner, the original founder, stepped down from Afropunk, and he didn't want to be a part of it anymore. He himself was frustrated with the compromise to the safe space that he had intentionally created. Another big problem for a lot of the original Afropunkers was the monetization of the event. So for those first few years, Afropunk was completely free. It was a safe space and it was accessible. But Afropunk then went from being a free event for these people to being an event that you know, was $45 a day or $90 for the weekend. And essentially it shut a lot of their original audience out. Now, that being said, today I know that they do have some options where you know, locals and natives can volunteer to earn their ticket into Afropunk. So I believe that, you know, that at least there is something in the works to make sure that it's still to maintain accessibility, but it did still shut down apparently a lot of the original attendees. All that being said, let's fast forward. We're going to jump into 2018, 2019 to what I've been experiencing. So last year I went to Afropunk for the first time. So fun. It was amazing. Okay. Some of my favorite musicians were there, from her to Daniel Caesar to Smino, Erica Badu. Like, the lineup was insane. I had a great time. Now, I've grown up in a lot of Black spaces. I went to predominantly Black schools my entire life. I went to a HBCU. I live on the south side of Chicago. Like, my whole life is blackity black, black, black. But I had never been in a space of Blackness like that was so eccentric and so creative and just so boundless, literally without limits. Like, I can't explain to you how it feels, but I recommend it to anybody. That being said, Afropunk this year was really white. It was white. There were a lot of white people. The reason that this matters is because Afropunk is supposed to be a safe space. Remember, James Spooner created the whole event, and even the mission now is still created, is still geared towards being a safe space, seeing marginalized populations, empowering, you know, minority people. So my question is, does that increasing presence of whiteness in Afropunk compromise the idea of the safe space? Now, by definition, a safe space is somewhere where any individual or group of people can go and feel safe and protected from any type of harassment or judgment or harm, discrimination, etc., right? So it's somewhere that is inclusive and somewhere that is not going to make you feel ostracized or guilty or weird for who you are. And I don't believe that whiteness alone can compromise, you know, a safe space in that regard. However, going between 2018 and 2019, I did feel that whiteness kind of pull me out of, you know, the high that is Afropunk a few times. And it's not because I just saw another white face, right? That's why I said whiteness alone isn't going to do that. But you can tell the difference between a white person who's there because they like Santa Gold and Gold Link, and a white person who's there, you know, because they wanted to come see the spectacle. I think another aspect is also just like the tone deafness of some white people who were there, and kind of appropriating cultures and what they were wearing or how they had been styled. And then also the phenomenon of people who show up to events, you know, just to do it for the gram or for their YouTube video. It all felt like a novelty. I very clearly remember seeing a white woman in like a dashiki dress with like some Milky Way wet and wavy hair, literally just clipped to the top of her head. You know, soccer mom Brenda with her baby in her stroller, college douche looking frat bros with like with like every name brand item he could find, people vlogging, guys you could tell who were about to make a YouTube video. It was just weird. And like, again, not every white person there unsettled me, but the ones who did look at it like it was a spectacle or like it was a freak show, it made me uncomfortable. It would make me a little bit, you know, it took away from the enjoyment of the experience. I can't lie. Also, at one point, we were double dutching. You know, I ended up turning, and then some other, it was just a group of people gathering around waiting to jump their turns. You know how this works. Everybody was walking around the rope, right? And then a group of white people came and they didn't walk around it. They got hit by the rope, and it was just like everybody just stopped and looked at them like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Everybody knows you walk around the rope. What the fuck? So like, just those experiences, it's just, it's just a really weird phenomenon that I'm still digesting to this day, right? Because it's creating a cognitive dissonance in me to some extent, because I do feel like it's important to show these types of events to people outside of, you know, our own marginalized groups. It needs to be known. I'm glad that it's gaining popularity, but at the same time, is it still going to be a safe space? Is this changing? Is it going to get more and more white? Like, honestly, I don't think I can handle it getting any more white than it was this year. I don't really have a conclusion. It's just a discussion. This is literally, I need some feedback. I want to talk to somebody about it. So please drop in the comments and let me know if you feel like Afropunk is becoming white. Did you even notice that many white people if you went? Have you ever been before? Did you like it when you went? Would you go again? And let's just talk about it, all right? Because I'm tired of having the conversation in my head. I know I have like a lot of voices and I can take a lot of sides, but it's more helpful for my sanity if I can actually engage with other people instead of my own thoughts. So thank you for watching. I'm done talking for the day and I will see you in the next video. Bye.